Hey, Max.
Hello.
So you're a new face for me. Tell me where you're up to with this stuff.
Um, know where or what I'm up to. I know that many things are happening in my body, and I am welcoming them to the best of my capacity. It's quite difficult to put words on what's happening. It's quite frustrating at times, and many uncomfortable moments, I would say. But I, my relationship to uncomfort also seems to evolve in a comfortable way, slowly, and it takes different meanings pretty much every day. But yeah, today is, mm, or at least now, is quite calm and pretty peaceful, and it's it's the kind of peace that I think I was looking for all my life in many different attempts, but never really found. So there is on the background of all the many chaotic, absurd moments, indescribable moments that I face every day. On the background, something that is okay, and be like, let's see. Anyway, it's even if it seems really fucked up now, maybe maybe in 2 hours or 2 minutes it would not be, or something else.
Mm,
And
mm. So tell me about the peace that you're looking for. Do you want that? Do you expect that will be there all the time?
mm, I prefer to be peaceful than to be disturbed
Mm,
or to feel discomfort.
mm.
Imagine that I am somehow attached to peace, but also I am seeing every day that I have not a say in what's happening. Like even though I like it, I prefer to be ah, open and relaxed.
Yeah.
it's uh, like this now, but what about the next moment? I have seen many times that it changes very fast.
Yeah. So if something you don't prefer turns up, how do you feel
Mm,
about that? What happens in you?
uh, it can usually there is a contraction
I
or
missed
there is
that.
a
Sorry.
tense. There is a contraction, a
Yeah.
tensing up.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what is your response to that?
uh, the same. I mean, is like okay, what's happening in the body, and what are am I thinking about it? Uh, but this usually takes some time because at the first moment I freak out sort of.
Right. Yeah.
Not not in a I mean it has happened in the past months, but not as much as an visible outward freaking out. But if someone is paying some attention to my face, I think if they can tell that I'm not okay or that I'm
Hmm.
uh, anxious, that I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Well, welcome to this group. You and Nils is another new face for me. Hi, Nils. So
I can't.
just just tell you these groups are really informal. If you've got something
Mm.
to say, just speak up. You don't need to put your hand up and ask permission or anything like that. Just out with it. Yeah. Be really relaxed. Everything's acceptable. Yeah. So that's good stuff. So yeah, as you watch and listen to people and talk yourself, you'll discover some things, hopefully. Yeah. So a big part of what we're on about is aligning expectations with reality. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty good handle on things, but yeah, we'll see how we go and polish them up a bit, maybe. Yeah. Thank you, Max. Where are you up to, Nils? What have you? What's your current experiencing like?
So very, very current. I feel quite joyful to be here and actually to have gone through with the decision to join the meeting. It's morning here in Germany. It's where I'm from. I'm uh, coming over from Liberation Unleashed, if that's something that says something to anyone. And recently found the tremendously beneficial part of this is confronting doubt. And I've heard your name a couple of times, Vince, when in the context of doubt, as someone who's like, quite masterful with that. I saw this meeting and now I'm here. Apparently. A bit excited.
Yeah,
Um yeah. So that's and as concerning feta work, as I've said, I'm at level 0 or something. This I'm not sure if that's all that relevant, but yeah, this is sort of the trajectory that implies. goals, expectations, and stuff like this. This
Sure.
is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, good stuff. Glad you're here. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I kind of originally started these meetings because I felt like people who've gone through Liberation Unleashed kind of get abandoned after they've been through it. And there's obviously still a lot more.
Oh, I feel that a bit of fear maybe coming up every time there's a confrontation with uh, this could end. This could end in being feel lost again. And oh, yeah, it probably will. It probably will.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. You kind of I see people that I would describe as going back to sleep afterwards, but you can't unsee what you've seen. So that's also true. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. We'll polish things up a bit as we go. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. How's life been for you, Pam?
Yeah, I don't know. um, yeah, this is the first time I've joined this meeting. So it's like not trying to plan anything or not trying to manage anything, sort of getting a hold on that, there's not really anybody doing anything. So just wait and see. And then it's one of those things that, woke up and it's like 2:30 in the morning and I'm like, huh, for me where I am. And I think that's, so I made myself a cup of tea and logged in and listening to people kind of say some of the same things that I'm going through. Yeah, most recent thing is just all the nothingness, nothingness, no one here. Um, Trying to figure out how you actually work that into all the stuff that's going on outside of us, and trying to find my way a little bit. So yeah, that's how learning to like listen to the music a lot, learning to it, it is kind of a space of like, you know, forgetting and remembering all the time, kind of just sort of nothingness. This is it type of thing all the time. And then trying to figure out what that means or think about what that means. Interesting talking to other people, when you're used to being so careful about the words you choose and what you say and what you really see doesn't fit really well with, when you're trying to communicate with other people. So
Sure.
this is probably the space that I'm going to try to learn some of that in. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. 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 When you said trying to figure out what that means, does it have to mean something?
Apparently something tells me that it's supposed to or does or whatever. I think that's just the big curiosity. I think uh, I think that's still the thing that's a little bit new and uncomfortable is that there is no nothingness. That's really what it is. It's not doesn't mean anything. It's not supposed to do anything. I think that's even it goes through layers of, when you think there's a meaning and then you stop and go, well, how could there be any meaning if there's no one there for it to mean anything to? And then just kind of coming around full circle to the fact to the that it's all stories upon stories upon stories, and that if there is a story that I'm sort of looped into about a meaning, then reminding us, just reminding myself, oh yeah, it's not even real.
Mm.
So I think it's maybe just like layers of getting down to the fact that no, there is no, how could there be any meaning to anything? There's no one for experiencing it. There's no one to relate with it. There's nothing. So it's just, kind of sound a little bit like a babbling idiot sometimes, even to
Mm.
myself. Yeah. So, yeah. But I think that does come up because there's still just a tiny part in there. It's that integration, I think, with everything. It's just still a tiny part. And then I guess when like I say, I'm trying to figure it out, you kind of look at it and you think, um, how do you even, I think that's right where it is. It's like being okay with just being where you are and thinking, no, there's no meaning. But I do find that sometimes words just kind of go there. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So on the meaning thing, do you get that different cultures, let's say you came from a tribe in Africa or the Amazon or somewhere, that things would have a certain meaning that are really different to the meaning that you would have because of the culture that you were brought up in, and that if you were brought up in a even a different part of the same culture, the same society that you live in, again, things would have different meaning. That whatever anything might mean, that we can know about, just that we can know about, that's important. So there may be meaning that we simply don't know or can't know, but any meaning that we can know about is made up, and it's determined by our society, by our culture. So it doesn't exist as anything other than a story called meaning that culture, that society has put on things. Can you get that the nature of the conceptual that we call meaning?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because like just since I started this like a week or so ago, in the last week, I new on a Substack. Never been there before. I had to figure out what it was anyway. So and there was something I came across, and it was really cool on the empaths and narcissists. I think as far as cultures go, that word narcissism or narcissistic or whatever has been, I mean, that was an interesting thing for me to learn, to just because I think around the world people are throwing that word around and I'm not sure people really know what it means or what it is. And then same thing like with empaths, you hear people talk about that a lot. So I found myself in a kind of in a space of wondering what either one of those words mean. And as I was reading the article, it was really interesting because I couldn't figure out whether I was more like an empath or whether I was more like a narcissist, and and then trying to figure out, well, who actually um, decides what that is and who that is and how that works. It's an interesting theory because I understand the whole, at least it appears to me, there's some sort of kind of dynamic energy behind um, what's happening. And it does come through whatever life is experiencing, I guess, in this conditioned space here and culture wise. So, self calling, finding myself on both ends of that
Mm.
spectrum. There were, and that's pretty interesting because I'm not really even sure how I label, like what happened to me or anything like that or what it is. So I don't, but just the difference in how the difference in, well, like, is there really a me? The difference in where I see myself and everything else as well. Sometimes the biggest thing probably with that for this that I went through experienced was heart. I just know for the first time, I mean, after my entire life of being closed off, basically, I'm feeling like I don't even know what love means, or I don't know how people say when they, whatever, that, and how to actually feel really. And then kind of busting open and all of a sudden feeling everything, and it feels pretty raw. And then I find myself saying things sometimes in the culture where I am. I mean, they just kind of look at me like, what is,
Yeah.
like they have nothing to say. So then I feel different and feel weird. And I can go back and listen to one of these songs about how, well, there it goes again. One thought, one one goes into one story, and then it's like all the way down, just kind of. So yeah, it's just kind of like a constant exploration into all of that stuff. But yes, I totally get that about the different
Mm.
cultures.
Yeah,
And
good one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You also talked about nothingness. Yeah. And that had me wondering what you meant by that. I do get the idea of the idea. I emphasize the idea of there being nobody there, no person, no I, but nothingness. Experience
yeah,
here is kind of more like fullness than nothingness.
yeah. I do hear um, what you're saying on that, and I think uh, um, I know that's kind of been a thing, like the whole paradox about being nothing and everything. So that's a little fuzzy for because the nothingness, basically, what it comes down to is that you know, well, there's apparently some kind of an idea or wondering about if that's the thing that's probably been most terrifying for me since I was very young, and had an experience where, to me, I think it was when I was very young and the culture where I am was so totally different. But what I experienced was the oneness, but also the fact that it's like a nothing.
Mm.
It's everything and nothing. And I think that part of being nothing was what was so terrifying for me. And I think
Okay. Yeah.
that's the deepest fear that I always lived through, is that I had to, some kind of a thought that I had to fill my life, more college degrees, more advancement in where I was working, more making more money, or being busier, or being more popular, or being more important, or being the big one for me, knowledge in my head, being more right,
Mm.
being right about everything, knowing things. To me, that was always my, it's like the more that I knew, the more value it gave me, or the more substance or something. So I think it was always, you know, uh, some things like that. So then that experience of nothingness to me was very like empty and kind of
Yeah.
terror for
Yeah.
me.
I get that.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what because I felt like, I mean, I'm so intense that that I could remember throughout the entire lifetime people saying, could you just not be so intense about, people just saying, can you just stop and breathe? Can you just, and I remember that happening all the time. So now that so much of this is hit, and all of a sudden it's like this whole no time thing. It's just everything just stops. Then you go, well, now I can see what people were talking about. I mean, that first recording when I was talking with you and I watched it back, it's like I kept looking at this person going, can you just calm down just a little bit? Can you just take a breath? Can you just, like open your eyes and look around? And it's like, so I think that's probably why that is so front and center right now, is because that for me, this is nothingness, is like stopping, just being still and realizing there's, because if I'm meditating or alone and quiet and I go inside, there's nothing there. And I used to think that meant that I was an empty shell of a person, that I had nothing to offer, nothing that was interesting or whatever, so that I had to fill it up with stuff. So I think that's probably why that seems to be so present for me. And then even, out in groups of people, going to Walmart and just looking around, and there's that kind of thing, like it's everything happening, and it's not real.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. At least I find it interesting now and not terrifying,
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
because that used to be terrifying for me. Yeah.
yeah.
To think
So
that it's
one of the things that comes to mind for me is that that need to fill, to give meaning to your life, to have those things that say stuff about you, that they were saying things about that stuff, those achievements. That was a story of you. It wasn't actually you, eh? Do you get that one?
Yeah. And um not sure what it means, yes, but I do get it, that it's a story and it's not, and even but yeah, so I do see it very clearly. It's like, it is kind of a bit like a split personality, that
Yeah.
there's that going on all the time, and I can see it and watch it very clearly. Um, but it's still very much there, and kind of comes and goes. But
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's true. Well, and we're not looking to kill that.
right, right,
We're just looking to have a relationship to it that is appropriate, or you might say adaptable. It's an adaptive relationship that we want with it, one that works,
yeah,
right? So rather than have it run the show,
um,
it has a useful place when you're out there talking
yeah,
to
and
people or whatever. Yeah.
it's interesting that you're bringing that up, and thank you for bringing that up, because like for the most part, what I've done for the last couple of years is isolate and be in seclusion almost, just so I could kind of have, I think it's a matter of like having control over the environment and whatever. But I had a conversation, um, well, two family members actually shut at my door, and I had this impromptu kind of conversation, and I could still see how much of this wanting to to be in control, to want to say, well, this is actually what's happening, and this is what's, and then also realizing how seeing very specifically, like one or two statements or something, and when the other two visitors were ready to leave, it's like going through that whole thing in there. I think I probably said something that caused an issue. Maybe I shouldn't have said something, and I could see all of that activity going on about judging, criticizing, and then I was watching that do the judging and criticizing, and then seeing it. So trying to have a little bit of a laugh about it, and also seeing that it wasn't real, what's going on, and thinking, it's, all that's the judging and the criticizing, but then actually being able to kind of catch it and go, yeah, I don't have to do that. I can just be, because a lifetime of pretending is like, it's kind of like an addiction, I suppose. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So it's kind of one of those where that, yeah.
So you've said a couple of times about it being not real.
Yeah.
That's worth looking at as well. It has a reality, doesn't it? The fact that it's happening is real. What it's about may in fact be not seen as real, or it may be seen as optional, or it may be seen as just a story. But the reaction to it is very real, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say that's what I guess, like being in a space like this where you can just actually talk about even that.
Yeah, I get that you can't in normal circumstances talk about this stuff very much. Yeah, that's tricky. And even here, the words make it difficult sometimes too. Hey.
Yeah.
But at least it's okay. It's okay to not know what we are saying here.
There was when I was very young and this first happened to me, and I didn't know what the hell was happening or what I was supposed to do about it, didn't dare say anything. This was like back in the 1960s or 1970s even. It's like there was a singer. She was like a country and western singer named, and probably I'm assuming Vince, you might know, but I'm not sure if any of the others. But her name was, I think it was something like Patty Page or something. But she had this, her genre of music was like very kind of sad and sort of that old bluesy type thing, where it's kind of like she was like the tortured artist type thing, and she would sing. Her song that was so popular was "Is That All There Is?" And it's almost sounding a bit like hopeless because her thing was, okay, well, this has all happened to me. Everything that's supposed to be wonderful and perfect and successful and celebratory and all this sort of stuff. You could have the best things happen or the worst things happen, and it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, this is all there is. And that always left such a feeling of emptiness in me, which I think, and that was what was so terrifying for me, because all I could think of was, whatever the fuck just happened to me, now I'm going to have to live the rest of this life in that whole nothingness, like emptiness, because like this is all there is. This is it, and it had such a deep feeling of pain or emptiness and of annihilation maybe, or something to that I really truly think, whatever that means, that was a motivating root or force for me, is like, oh hell no, I'm not going to settle for that. Is this all there is? I'm fixing to put anything and everything that I can in it, and thinking that there's someone actually in control that manages and can do all of this and create all of this. And I don't care what situation I came across, it was like there was a part of me saying, if I work hard enough, if I push hard enough, if I do this enough, I can get it right. I can control it. I can fix it, and so all of those things are there, and yet I can take a look at things and go, there's nothing there.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. Yeah.
and at the time I went to some kind of a group retreat or seminar or something like that. This was, like I said, 100 years ago, but there was a guided meditation that this lady took everybody through, and she had you look into your, go through this whole inside go in thing and look into this treasure chest, and you're going to open this treasure chest that's inside of you, and you're going to see all these wonderful things inside the treasure chest, and they're, and like, that's all your skills, that's all your gifts, that's who you really are, right? So, and in this room that I was in with, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 other people, and people are talking about the gifts they found in their treasure chest. Well, I opened my treasure chest, and there it was completely empty. And what was that? I had, damn, I don't even have anything. It's like there's nothing here. It's completely, my treasure chest is empty. So then it's like I'm starting at zero. Everybody else has all these skills and attributes and treasures or whatever. I got nothing. So I think that's, again, starting out on a lifestyle of like, I'm fixing to fill up this damn treasure chest,
Yeah,
with
good stuff. Yeah.
everything that I can. But now I'm here all these years later, and I'm going, that was perfect right where I was, empty treasure chest, because I didn't need
Absolutely, yeah.
anything else. But you see, after all these years, because that was probably, like 50, 60 years ago. And then,
Yeah.
saying something, spending all these 50, 60 years trying to find all these things that were supposed to be in my treasure chest.
Yeah.
Instead, sitting there looking at the empty treasure chest going, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
So
So
I think that's what this.
how many people that we know of that got fame, got money, had everything going for them, and then committed suicide?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of,
Countless.
yeah. And I suspect that the reason was that they thought that things were empty as well. When they got there, they realized that all of those things they were striving for were meaningless. They were just concepts.
Yeah.
Fame, reputation, all that, even the money didn't give them happiness. Yeah. So there is a good analogy in terms of emptiness, in terms of all of that socially approved stuff. I wonder how many billionaires are actually happy. I don't know. I don't know any, but I can imagine that a lot of them are not happy because they're whatever. They're still so once they got enough money, then they go for power, and when they've got enough power, then they what's next? I don't know. Yeah.
I think it was.
Here you go.
Sorry. I think it was Jim Carrey that said a couple of years ago that he would like everybody to get rich and famous to see for themselves that it's not about it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah.
I just watched a little interview with Jim Carrey recently, and he was saying some of the same things that, are said in these meetings and stuff. But I can see the perception of him saying those things now is that people think he's crazy. People kind of, discount him and make fun of him. And I went, well, yeah, I think that's the reason I'm kind of learning. Maybe I shouldn't say so many things in front of people.
Okay. I've got weird tattooed across my forehead. Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. 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 Thank you, guys.
So I'd like to give you this gift. Contemplate that the word "this" points to something that can't be described or defined. That the closest we can get to it is to say it is the happening that we call experiencing. And it's just this. And we say this because it doesn't touch the actuality of it at all. But this is incredibly full, incredibly meaningful, although you can't describe a meaning. You can't say what it means. But underneath that emptiness is something really, really full. And it just defies words to even get close to saying what it's about, what it is. It can't be. All we can go is, oh, oh. And that's about as close as we can get to something there that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not right to say it, but the closest I can get is to say, that's what you are. But you
Yeah.
are not, it's not you and it's not I. There is no you and there is no are. But you are this. And it has no beginning and no end. And it's everything and nothing all at the same time. And it's wordless. It just is absolutely wordless. But rich, so absolutely chocolate fountain. Mm. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Mm. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick.
Howdy.
Oh,
How
yeah.
are you? How about this? I've been pushing myself to stay awake through this whole meeting, and I'm really not sure what to do about that because it's late my time,
Mm.
and I think I should be here because it's been 2 weeks and it's been chaotic and painful, and the whole 9 yards. So I was like, figured it's time for a reset, but I'm also dead tired.
Mm.
What do you
Well,
think? Any sage advice?
drop off and snore. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah. So just, yeah. There's
So
no
the,
should be here going.
Okay. So you don't want. Okay. Fine. Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good night.
that was nimble and quick.
Say again, Nils.
That was nimble and quick.
Yes, he was, wasn't he? Yeah. Hi, Shah. Mm.
Hi Vince, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah.
I think I'm seeing you for the first time outside your car.
Ah, yes. I'm downstairs. You'll see me for the next few weeks down here at least. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I had an interesting experience last week. Actually, no, not last week. It was this Sunday. In a holotropic breathwork retreat, and I got into a very deep meditative state, and I could really, in that slightly altered state, watch the thoughts, the thought activity, then watch the watcher, and then it started looping on itself. Then I could watch the watcher who's watching the watcher. So it was an interesting experience till at one point everything collapsed and it was just um it kind of like blacked out and it was silence, and it was loud music playing, and then suddenly the music was playing here. There were other breathers, and there were screams, and it was all happening here. And it was a little disorienting. But then the thought arose that, oh, there's no here or there. Because I was like, oh, the speaker's there and the music is coming from there. That's our experience. When I was hearing a sound, it either came from here or there or there. And then in this moment, it was all happening just here. But and it lasted just 2 or 3 seconds. But after that, the peace, and then there was this experience of thisness. And then the thought activity started again. And then I'm watching the thought and not watching the thought and hearing a sound, and it's coming from here and there. And there's me as the listener, the watcher of the thoughts. And it was just happening. It is really beautiful. And it has left me very clear-headed. I feel very clear. I'm feeling very sharp, these past 3 days. That whatever it did, it kind of cleaned up something.
Mhm.
That moment of absolute clarity of what this is. I mean, I don't know what this is, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It was a beautiful experience.
yeah.
And yet so ordinary.
Mm.
When just everything was just happening. And there was the act of observing also and thinking about it also. And everything was okay. There was no resistance to anything. So those few minutes were really nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Does it resonate as a little accurate to say that you were the experiencing that was happening?
So in the beginning, I felt like the one experiencing it. But when that here and there collapsed, the few minutes after that, I didn't have a sense of an experiencer experiencing.
Right.
Everything was
Right.
just
Yeah.
happening.
Yes. Yes.
Even me thinking about what was happening was also happening without an experiencer.
Yes. Beautiful.
And it was so beautiful. It was so joyous. And then
Mm.
it was so oh, just relaxed. And then
Yeah.
I remembered my teacher's instructions, and where we're, it's like the do nothing meditation, where you just sit, the Zen Shikantaza, where you just sit. And I had like a flavor of that flavor of just sitting
Mm.
without a sitter.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe this is what the teachers kind of point to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
It was lovely. And this time around, Vince, something has changed. When I've had these kind of glimpses in the past, I used to cling to it and wanted to go back to it. This time, that urge is missing to want it back, making plans. The next time I sit, I want this, or this is my benchmark. I don't know, that's missing this time.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah.
It's like, like losing that is also okay,
Yeah.
however beautiful that was.
Hmm.
But there is a sense of loss, because
Yeah.
there is that, yeah. Because right now, as I speak with you, it's not quite that way.
Hmm.
And in a way, that's also okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at a loss for words that 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 there is not a pull to get that back. Allows it to be here now, even if not perceived. It's like you can appreciate that it was something fundamental that still exists. Yeah.
And I think I now kind of, well, I can't say I understand, but I can kind of sense what when the teachers say it's right here,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. You will not
You really
understand
got
it.
it.
You
Yeah. I can't understand it.
no, you can't.
No.
Yeah.
But
But that you can sense something.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. The
that's
truth
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Mm,
sense the truth of what the teachers say, that it's just here, and I'm the one who has to take the glasses off. Mm,
mm,
yeah.
Cannot be lost, then it is here.
Sorry.
If it cannot be lost, then it is here.
Exactly.
mm.
Exactly. But I do have also the sense that, oh, that happened on Sunday, 3 days ago. You know what I mean? Like I can't taste it just quite the same way right now. So there's just the sense that, oh, it's, mm, sometimes when objects are really far, if you just look in a certain angle, then it's visible very clearly. So it's just about changing your focus a little bit, and you'll be able to see it clearly. So that's how I feel right now. That if I wish I knew how to just put my head this way or look this way, and then how I'd see that thisness. Or
Mm,
just, yeah. Sorry, I don't think I'm making any sense. Mm.
mm. Oh, that's beautiful. And interestingly, your memory of it is actually a re-experiencing, although it may not have the original intensity, but
Mm.
you can touch it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the joy it generates is also still there.
Yes. Yeah. And you can see when they talk about whatever, so that some might reduce it to a word like peace and say it's always there. It's underneath, no matter what's going on. It's present. Well, this is a version of that, but much bigger than any word can. Yes.
Like, yeah, exactly. Peace is also not it. No.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot remove the background.
Hmm. Exactly. Yes. It's a background is. Yeah.
But Vince, I remember last time we talked about this, about this being like a forever journey of, discoveries on the way and revelations after revelations in layers. Uh, and I had mentioned to you that I still want that happily ever after, that I still want that the end of this journey would be like the 2 minutes I had on Sunday forever. Is it like that?
But think about it. If you had it forever, there would be no end.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, because it was dynamic.
Mm.
It was constant creation.
Yeah.
Ah.
So here's one that I frequently use. In nature, there's no such thing as a straight line, a perfectly straight line. Also, there is no such thing as anything static. Everything is always changing, and it relies on that change for existence. So we need movement. We absolutely rely on movement for life, and everything has life. Everything, even rocks, there is movement. There's no such thing as static. And humans move at a pretty fast pace compared to a lot of other things. Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Now, yeah, right. Right. Because I think, what I've been, what my spiritual journey has been for something static, but that doesn't exist.
Mm. Yep.
Right. It would be pretty boring.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I think the second she talked about searching for something static, her screen froze, and that's comedy.
Mm. Yeah. So it just occurs to me to mention to you new guys that if people have got their camera off, I generally don't ask them to talk. So I see that. But Tammy's different. I know Tammy never turns the camera on, but she'll talk. But essentially, I take it as a message that you don't want to talk mostly if you turn your camera off. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Vince, I have an issue with my internet connection.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, and it typically always happens when I'm sitting here. So next time I think I'll log in from another place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, I have some computer issues. Sometimes mine freezes up and I don't know why for a second or two. Yeah. Hi, Dom.
Trying to
Hmm.
connect my headphones. Computer
Yeah.
issues. Oh yeah, I think is that better? Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. So how have you been?
um, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I think I've been doing some like, the morning thing seems different at the moment. Like, the waking up in the morning, that whole coat of identity thing and the whole sort of narrative and stories and the seems to have less of a grip at the moment, which is
Uh-huh.
nice. And I think I don't really know where I stand at the moment, but it feels like that heaviness and that sort of like anxiety thing doesn't seem to be around at the moment. Um, like I notice I've got this weird thing going on where I broke my uh, finger. I was boxing and I thought it was sprained and it turned out to be broken. Um, and then I ended up having this like strange sprain in my arm. So I've been like trying to train one-handed, and then I've got this like strain in my other arm, and now I've got a thing going on in my knee. I'm like, it feels like my body is just. So I'm just noticing that my mind is now coming up with stories about like something going on. Like, is there something going on that all these things are happening at once? Um, I mean, I'm going to go see the hand specialist today, so I'll get some more information on whether
So
the sprain.
it occurs to
Yeah,
me to ask you if you notice that you're noticing. Are you noticing that you're looking for an explanation?
yeah. I mean, I think I think whereas before maybe I would have just been trying to work out what it was, I'm now seeing my mind do that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, good stuff.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's sort
But
of not. So I can kind of it's sort of still happening, but it's not as sort of heavy somehow.
yeah, yeah. So it's not about it happening, it's about how we respond to it happening. And
Yeah.
so it's like questions that don't need answers, curiosity
Mm,
that doesn't need a resolve. Yeah. So yeah, maybe there's a message, maybe your body's trying to tell you something, but we don't know. Maybe
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's good enough. Yeah.
But I can see these old stories trying to reassert themselves, which are
Yeah.
to do with like, oh, your body's deteriorating, you're getting older, like you'll never be back to full strength, like all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Good. And then the
but it's not.
potential there, or you're going to be a weak old man. Oh, God.
Yeah,
Mm, mm.
yeah. but it doesn't seem to be quite sticking as strongly maybe as it would have.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, apart from that, yeah, I mean, I felt my body relax when I was listening to the previous share. There, I've had a couple of moments where felt like whatever was in between the universe sort of experiencing itself, the me that was in between,
Yep.
wasn't there, and it's just such a incredibly sort of peaceful feeling because the
Wow.
body just sort of completely relaxes. The body's just got no reason to sort of hold on to anything at that point.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it resonate to say that you had an experience of no separation?
Yeah, what it felt like, I mean, it's hard to talk about it, but it felt like there was a sort of a circuit almost that had a break in it, that was the sort of me or the sort of ideas, and it just sort of closed. You know what I mean? So that it was just,
Yeah.
it was all just
It was all.
hard to describe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I see. I get it especially strongly through visual stuff. I guess I'm quite a visual person or whatever, so it's sort of, and we've talked about it before, like that feeling of the person or the self that's this side of the image. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When that goes, then it's like, you know,
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had that happen, a few times, but it's not like I don't feel. And the other thing I connected to was that I don't at the moment. I'm not feeling like I'm not looking for retreats or a new sort of practice or a kind of, you know what I mean, or like
Yep.
I've got to learn this thing or go on that course or whatever. That doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. It's sort of like the energy of that seems to have fallen away a little bit, at least for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah. I get that. I have an image of one of those blow up dolls with a weight in the bottom of it, and it can flop around, but the base of it is really solid. And that's that. Yeah. You're that base at the moment. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, all in all, pretty good at the moment. Just
What happened to you just then?
you mean what happened internally?
Yeah, just a second ago. Yeah.
Just I sort of ran out of things to say, I suppose, and I just kind of, sort of went back to the original question and didn't know what else to say.
Good. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. I love that wordless place. Yeah. Thanks, Dom.
Yeah, thanks.
Tammy, tell us about how you're responding to what you've been hearing tonight.
It's been fun. It's been fun. I liked hearing everyone. Everyone has their own take, and Niels has been bringing comedy, and Max has been bringing the eternal wisdom, and Pam is bringing this fantastic energizer bunny awakening kind of stuff, and Shah with the poetic stuff, and Dom with his progress, and it's been really fun. when Pam was speaking, I was kind of relaxing and it was nice. Yeah, and I guess my thoughts at that time when she was speaking was that I haven't had that shift into, there's no person and stuff, but maybe that's okay. In other words, I'm having whatever shifts I'm having, and I understand some of the things. In other words, so, and then I got scared. I'm like, no, it's not okay. I have to realize all the things. But
But how do you feel about that when that thought turns up that no, I should be different? How do you feel about that?
I'm just exhausted. It's
Oh,
just exhausting.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Um, it's just the fear rising again, but the fear that maybe wants to keep me seeking so that I'll have a good life or whatever, that I'll realize what I need to realize. Um, I wrote down a few things to say to you. One is, I guess there's been a lot of waves. Like I'll go from, I was really calm for a while, just on this meeting, let's say, but there's been a lot of anxiety or panic stuff returning. Like I'll wake up in the morning with that adrenalized kind of buzzing in the body. Um, so sometimes I remember what you said about, whatever, like trying to look at it differently or something, like see if I can change my attitude towards it or something, either explore it or whatever. So sometimes I'll question things, inquire into things, try and say something like, oh, isn't this interesting? Or, oh, whatever, say something to change my relationship to it. I did something new this week and there was like waves of anxiety and panic beforehand. And I was just very, very clear, like the meaning and the framing that I gave it created tremendous, huge worlds and stories.
Mm.
And I was able to put myself in a good place for it and like kind of sailed through with flying colors. And afterwards, I kind of crashed into tremendous anxiety because I had to make decisions about it. Um, and like write down on paper and send in some things about the experience. And I was like, oh my God, this could affect my life. Like I was just spiraling in and out of anxiety. It was just very, very clear how the stories and how I would frame it or think about it would create an
Mm.
entire,
Yeah.
feeling in the body, stories and everything. And so it really brought up that issue for me of like
Right.
creating
So you
things,
didn't
but
rejoice at seeing that. I mean,
so
I feel celebratory that you could recognize that happening, but you didn't rejoice. You had a different kind of reaction. Is that right?
So at the time, I was in between throes of extreme anxiety, panic,
Yeah.
and realization. So I was experimenting with it. As I was writing all this down this morning now to say to you, I started to laugh out loud. I'm like, wow, I had a lot of realizations this week. Um, it was like a training ground. In other words, it was like really, um, yeah. And so I guess what comes to me is that like it really. It was like the option of going through life with giving nothing meaning. You speak about meaning all the time, and you've been saying that to me a lot, how much meaning I give stuff. And it's like, I realized or there's an option, not that I can do it, but there is this, some people maybe go through life in a very bland or flat way. In other words, they don't give huge stories or drama like I do internally to things. And so, that might be bland or meaningless or boring, but forget that part. It's more like, but there is the human level. In other words, maybe these things are important for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Whether it's
Mm.
work or finding a partner, like all these things, like there is like value and importance to be placed there. And I don't know that I want to slip into, well, nothing matters. This is just another experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I get it.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I think that's perfectly reasonable to recognize that that stuff will always has a place. We simply
Yeah.
don't need it to rule what happens. It just has a place, which is and is it is important from a certain perspective, but from a different perspective, it's it's just a story that we might have about possibilities, eh? So
Yeah.
so I'm not I don't mean at any point to say to you that stuff is totally irrelevant. It's not. It is relevant. But when it produces anxiety, when it produces stress, when it causes suffering, we obviously have given it too much emphasis.
Yeah. So I just felt like I was going back and forth between those two views of, oh my God, this can affect my life, and oh wow, I'm just giving this simple interaction, a huge meaning. And so it was kind of
Yeah, that sounds like progress to me. Although I'll kind of want to take it back as soon as I say that. But you know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like a good thing. Mm.
It's kind of like a little bit like my mother and my father. My father's always like making jokes and holding things very lightly, although he takes things very seriously as well. And my mother's always huge and catastrophizing and
Mm.
extremely angry and like, so it's like, or meaningful or deep, like just entrenched in stories and
Yes.
history and
Yeah.
past. And
Yeah.
I kind of,
Yeah.
I guess I'm like feeling oscillating between all of
Yeah. Yeah.
those and being the one who's seeing all of those
Well,
and
that's
then feeling,
big.
oh
You know?
God, well, witness consciousness is just another place and I have to realize no self, and then I get frantic about that, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can
But
see where you learned these things, eh? Quite clearly.
yeah,
Your parents were your teachers to a very large extent. Yeah.
yeah. And then just, yeah, and also like just I guess exploring like what is life without the drama, without giving it the meaning. Like everything is meaning. Every
Yes.
day on the
Yes. Yes.
calendar is called this day or that day, and then we bring up all this like emotion about this or that or the other. Like even like
Mm.
when you were talking and you were saying to someone like, does this feel like this or like that? Every word you said, my whole body and organism responded to with stories, with sensations. So whatever you would ask me, I'm responding to your word. And if your word wasn't there, I wouldn't be, that wouldn't exist really for me in the moment. I'd be here listening to the sound of the fridge. But when you say, oh, but is it that? My whole system is like, oh my God, I don't know. Is it that? And then I create that's it. My body's vibrating with that
Mm.
versus if I forgot that word for the moment, I'm just here in this room. So it's just a lot of realizing of that. And then something else I wrote that I'm responding to words versus to what exists without that word, which is that word doesn't
Yes.
exist unless it's spoken. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I get it.
um, and then just noticing that I get sucked into huge pockets of suffering. Like I'll think about my uncle who's disabled and now he's bedridden and I don't know if he'll ever get up. In other words, he's like lost his, desire. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I'll just like cry for his whole lifetime, like just in or just like he never like met or married anyone, like his own sense of self, like just crying that he should feel that way. Or like my nephew, I feel he's so young and innocent and I just wonder how he'll get along in this world and all the suffering that awaits him. And I'm pulled into any sad face I see on the street. I just get like I see it. I see the
Yeah.
innocence, and I see how people hurt each other, and I see how people believe things that cause tremendous suffering. And I just, wow, that's it. I'm in this
Yeah,
spiral,
yeah, yeah,
and that,
yeah. So there's Pam's empath.
yeah. And then when I was writing that to tell you, I also started laughing because I saw how I go there, and maybe it's not necessary to go into those
Mm.
pockets of intense suffering because, you know, is it helping
Yep.
my uncle that I'm here crying? Or is it
Yes.
helping my nephew that I'm here crying? And the only thing I can really do for him, and then I go into intense hysteria. How should I educate him to have the best life? And then I'm like, the only thing I could do is make myself into peace versus hysteria. That's
Exactly.
the only
You
thing I
got it.
could do is
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
peace that he can witness. That's it. Not my
Yeah.
words, not my ideas. And
Yeah. Absolutely. What you experience is the biggest teacher, not what you say, but what you are experiencing affects other people. Yeah. That's big. Yeah. And I was
yeah,
interested when you said how you were quivering as you woke up, and
yeah.
I immediately thought of the story about you putting on the coat of Tammy, and
Mm,
I'd like Dom, could you elucidate on that one for Tammy a bit? I think there'd be value for all of us if you have a go at that. See if you
Talking
can tell
about putting the
Tammy about
coat
it.
on.
Yeah, the code of identity, the code of self. Yeah, as you wake up.
Yeah, I think for me, well, I mean, typically there's a sort of few seconds when I wake up where, I'm just there. I mean, well, I'm not just there, but just there's a room, there's sounds, there's maybe some sensation or something like that. And there's no thoughts yet. And sometimes that can be quite a distinctive little sort of moment. And then, depending on the day, thoughts will start to come in like, um, oh, I can feel a bit anxious, or I've got some kind of tension in my gut, or like, oh, I've got to do that thing this afternoon, and that's got maybe like a bit of a fear element to it as a sort of component of that thought. And then um, some other thing will come in, like about thinking about my day or about my situation. And then the next layer will start, which is like, oh, I'm an anxious person. Oh, I'm not very good at coping with life. Oh, and then it becomes that's the sort of identity part where it's like, oh, this is me now, a person who is, worried about life, who's not very good at coping, who's struggling, or who's whatever else. And that gets heavier and heavier. And then that by the time I'm downstairs, that's all of that's going on by the time I'm sort of making my tea. So I guess that's like a
Yeah,
typical pattern, let's say.
yeah, that's
mm,
good, Dom. Thank you. Yeah. Do you follow that, Tammy? Do you see how,
yeah, totally.
you
Yeah.
know, the analogy of putting on the coat of identification with who you are and kind of shaping your reactions to fit the story of Tammy, etc.
Yeah. It's like, oh God, we're here again. We have to deal with the day. And like it just hits me like,
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what Dom was saying that was really struck me as really relevant is that expectations about how you will handle it based on
mm,
the past.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. or how my organism will respond, and I'll have no control over that, and how it's, ugh, and why
Yeah,
aren't I progressing? And
yeah. And it's all identification, how I am, how I respond, how I do this, how I do that. Yeah, yeah. Now, another really relevant thing that Dom mentioned was there's that very small, call it moment, that could be a second long or something, where there is a awareness before that stuff gets activated. Have you experienced that moment?
I
That
think I did last night when I was peeling grapefruit. Um, yeah, it was like a few seconds, and I actually thought of you afterwards. Because you always have these stories about the moment washing dishes or the moment whatever. So it was really, those quiet moments. So I was peeling grapefruit, and again, this panic hit, like adrenaline or whatever, it just shoots out, and that's it. It's like an explosive in the body. And then usually that's followed by, oh my God, what's wrong with me? How do I fix it? How long is this taking? But it wasn't. It was just the panic arose and nothing followed it. And then it shot out like died like
yeah,
a shooting
yeah,
star. And I
like
was
a
like, oh,
flare. Yeah,
yay. It wasn't chased by shame, guilt, fear. I need to fix this. It was just it. And it flared out. And I was like, ooh,
yeah. Now there's another good one. Yeah, that that you can experience that like a shooting out before you actually describe it. Before just the experience of that whoosh as it explodes out into something. Yeah, that's so what in a way what we're trying to do is make realize a distinction between what happens and our description of what happens, or the meaning we give to it, the words that come along from thought, but not even necessarily words. It can be that we just know what it means without actually having a narration to describe it. But that gets added to the original experience, and that shooting out was kind of the original experience, and then comes along the story about why it happened and what it's about and so on. Can you kind of get what the flavor of what I'm saying about the
yeah.
distinction between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the first times where it wasn't immediately followed by like adding insult to injury. You know what I mean? By insulting
Yeah, yeah,
myself about
great.
it or saying like
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Oh, oh boy, some good stories tonight. I love it. Hmm.
Yeah. So I guess I just notice also how I like dissociate or leave my body. Like I never understood when people say they dissociate, but I think I've been doing that a lot in my life, especially like I'll
Yes.
go into a social situation. I completely override my body. I'm no longer present. It's just like I go into condition like, oh, how do you do? Oh, isn't this wonderful? Whatever it is, you just go into social, that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm totally there, which is very useful because it runs
Yeah.
wonderfully.
Yeah.
It's witty, it's humorous, it's
Yeah.
lovely. But I come home and I crash and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And I really believe it in the moment. I'm like, oh, I'm having a lovely time. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? And it just escalates and escalates. But when I come home, I'm like, whoa, oh my God. It's just like something else takes over and leads you through those social situations, but it's total disconnection from what this organism
Right.
is actually.
Yeah. And
But
there's a cost to it. You're
there's a
experiencing the
cost.
costs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what if I said to you that stuff can happen? That social thing that we put on, it can happen if we're aware of it happening and not interfering with it, just allowing it to happen. But we're aware, there is awareness of it, that
Yeah.
it won't have the same cost.
Yeah. Okay.
Part
There's
of
definitely more
part of the
awareness. Yeah.
cost is a kind of a denial, the resistance to what is actually happening, the denial of it is where the cost comes from. Yeah, that
Yeah.
disassociation that you talk about, that's a kind of a, a very expensive numbness, if you like, that comes along to try and cope with a situation. It's
Yeah. And I think you were going to
Go
say,
on. No, you go.
I think that's part of why I don't want to like date or have people close in my life, like physically in my space for many hours, because I just can't sustain that level of performative,
Absolutely. Yeah.
amazing and witty and funny and attentive. And I can't not do that. I can't be with you and just like lie on the couch and be in zombie mode. I have to be wonderful. Like, you know what I mean? And so, and
Yeah,
I
I
can't
do.
be
I get it.
wonderful for more than a few hours a day. It's exhausting. And so
Yeah.
so I can't be with you more than that. So I can,
Yep.
and so I
Yeah.
don't know
Look,
how to
I
be with
know.
people when
Yeah.
I'm not that. So I don't have people in my life who are around me 24/7 because I can't be wonderful 24/7 and I don't know how to break that. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with being wonderful for a while, but yeah, but recognizing your own limits, that's a big thing. Yeah. I too experience that. If I have a social event, I'm just so relieved when it's finished that I can be by myself and recover. It does take in a lot of energy sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, but that need to be that way, that's something that will probably change a little bit. You'll still be able to be that way, but maybe it won't be a compulsion anymore.
Yeah, and it's how do I let people in? In other words, when the performance is over, I need to say goodbye. I can't have you stay
Yes.
beyond that. I don't know how to be beyond that because now I can't be attentive and wonderful. And what if I'm not vigilant and I'll say something in anger or I'll say something insulting? Like I need to be vigilant because I don't want to hurt you or me by being less than wonderful. And I don't know how to overcome that. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get that one. Yeah, I will. I'm frequently put my foot in it, in but not being wonderful. Yeah, that happens very
Mhm.
easily. Because the filters are not there like they used to be, I don't need to pretend anymore. So yeah. But I'd
Yeah, if you're not
also that there is also a more recent thing that happens where discretion shows up and says, you don't need to say that, Vince.
yeah,
Where once upon a time I wouldn't have been able to not say it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I get that. So you could call it boundaries too. You've got to know when you've had enough. You've got to know when you're reaching the level of exhaustion because you can push yourself beyond that, and then there's a big cost. Whereas if you
exactly.
recognize that that's approaching and you can withdraw, even if it's just into silence or
Yeah.
into something, yeah, you don't have to force
Point.
yourself to be wonderful forever. Mm.
I think that's a good point because I push myself way beyond my limits because I know then I can go home and recoup. But if I have to be with someone beyond those hours, I don't trust myself that I can be not turn
Yeah.
into the people in my life who have been horrible to the people around them. And I'll be damned if I'm going to start acting like that to people. You know what I mean? I will not
Yeah,
hurt anyone.
yeah.
So I push myself to my absolute limits and then I go home and crash. But maybe if I was with people, I'd be able to, I don't know, maybe self-trust that I'd be able to be a decent human and
Yeah,
modulate it or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Anyway,
sure. Yeah, yeah, that's an experiment, an ongoing experiment. Yeah.
yeah. So what about the waves of anxiety and panic? Just keep not worrying about them and hopefully they'll pass.
Well, the skill that I'd love you to develop, and it's a tricky one, is how you relate to those things when they turn up. All right, so
Mhm.
it almost sounds like an oxymoron that you can be okay with not being okay. That those things can turn up and there can be a part of you, and it's kind of in a way we can create a separate part. In the beginning, we'll realize later it's not actually separate, but in the beginning, we can create a separate part that sees it happening. And with that seeing, there's an objectification that means that we're not all of us completely swamped by the unpleasantness of it, but that part of us can objectively notice that it is happening, while another part of us is lost in it. Do you get the concept of that?
So let's say it would come up. I mean, there's just the body sensations, but those are less disturbing than the huge stories. So the two stories that are most bothering me are oh my God, life decisions type things that affect, money, people, work, that kind of stuff, decisions around those things. And then the other thing is a tremendous sorrow about people in my life who I feel are doomed, or they're too innocent, or they're going to be taken advantage of, or they're believing things, or they're getting lost in the conditioning of their horrible parents and they're going to grow up to be horrible. All these
Yeah,
stories
yeah,
are huge for
that's a
me. So
big
those are the
one.
two:
Yeah.
decisions and sorrow about others. And what do I do? And when my mind takes over with those stories and I can't stop it, so I'll just say, oh, well, I'm believing my thoughts now. There's nothing I can do. In other words, like, okay, I'm in a frantic mind searching for solutions, and I just, in other words, just be resigned to it happening, kind of.
Well, resignation could be a way in. That could be a good one as a beginning to acceptance of it. See, no matter what we talk about here, it's going to sound like we're developing a, a technique. So we're doing something. Right? So there's things like it's kind of too obvious to say things like query that which you can control. And there's an old saying, isn't there? An old Khalil Gibran one, something about God give me the ability to change what I can and recognize that which which I can't, or something along those lines. But so there are things that you can't do anything about your uncle. You can't do anything about what's happening in Ukraine, in all of the horrible places where things are going on in the world. You can't do anything about that. Right? That doesn't mean that you approve of it. Acceptance of it does not mean approval. That's a big one. So there is you could look at it as a technique, but also we don't want that to become a denial. We don't want that to become a dissociation from it. We don't want to get a hard heart as a result of looking at those kind of things. We just want to recognize that those things are outside of our control. So but it's still, there's still good cause to be sad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Being sad about it is fine. It is okay. We're not overwhelmed by it when we don't resist it. When we don't want it, when we resist it, that's when we'll feel overwhelmed. And we're not overwhelmed by that. We're overwhelmed by the resistance that turns up to the acceptance of it. Right? Now, then the other side of it, the other thing that we were talking about that you mentioned was those big life decisions. Well, they will happen, right? They won't happen now because it's not appropriate for them to happen now. They will happen when they turn up, when they're required. And you don't need to worry about them because well, I know that they will happen. Maybe you don't yet. Maybe you think you've got to be a certain way in order to affect them appropriately. But I know that they will happen when it's appropriate for them to happen. And you don't have to worry about that. Life will make those decisions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So stories about will I date, or will I be okay in the future? Will I have enough money, etc.? There is no answer to them now. The answer will come when it's appropriate. if it ever is appropriate. Maybe it'll never turn out to be appropriate. But so you don't have to decide that. I mean, even if you do decide, it's only a story you've got. Whether you'll carry out that story or not's another story again, isn't it? So there's no imperative for you to make those decisions and right now. When the time comes that they are necessary, the decision will be made by life. But I don't want either of these things to turn into a denial or a doing, a way of fixing something. Just the recognition that, well, you don't have control anyway. That's a big one. Now, don't take my word for it. You've got to see that you don't have control. You've got to recognize that your uncle's state is not going to be affected by anything you think or feel. How he responds to you when you're present, that's a different story. But sitting at home, not wanting it to be that way, isn't going to change it, is it?
Yeah, and recognizing that I don't have enough energy or time to affect all the people I would want to. In other words, I can't live other people's lives for them or be there to take walks with them every day. And then what about the other guy? In other words, they're just,
Yeah. There's millions of people in the world that need something, and you can't be there for all of them, can you?
Yeah.
No. But how calm you are, how wise you are, will definitely affect your nephew when you're with him. Not when you're not with him, but when you're with him, he will be affected by the way you respond to things, by the stories you tell him.
Yeah.
Regardless of the situation that he's in, regardless of the way his parents are or the way his peers are, he will be affected by you. If he has a good feeling about you, that will translate into his life experience. And when you're with your uncle, if you're calm and feeling peaceful, that will affect his immediate experience.
Realized in my experience is that regarding what you said about being social and being different, where you're in a, let's say, a demanding situation, something where you feel you have to act in a way, and then you have to go back to something to relax. I've came to realize that the way I defined relaxation was a certain set of things in which I could feel relaxation. But it's not like it's a fixed thing in itself, relaxation. And in some way, I could also find some relaxation in those exact situations that are stressful, that are demanding, maybe it's not the same way, but there is part of me that is engaged too much or in a way that suffers for me, and maybe I can engage slightly differently to relax already, not wait for a moment to relax, but right in this moment where it's difficult, or I know by experience that after that I have to relax. Maybe I cannot wait later. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. When I feel that things are at stake, that it's important that I be a certain way, then it's hard. But at other times, definitely, that's a really good idea to try and relax within that. Yeah, thank you.
I take an example. For example, I cut vegetables, and for me, it has some coarse feeling, like I have to do it, and I don't like it. But maybe the way I hold the knife I'm just a little too tight on it. And
Mm.
like, it's just like, I don't know,
Like
more
tiny
slowly.
shift. Yeah.
I go walk to the supermarket. Maybe I walk 2 kilometers per hour slower, and it's a completely different experience. It becomes okay, I just walk now, and maybe I reach the supermarket eventually. I'm not going there.
Nice. Those tiny changes make a big difference. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge changes, really. Yeah.
One
Big one.
person doesn't be fully blissed out. Just 1%.
What did you say?
Just 1%. 1% relax, more
Ah,
relaxed.
yes, yes.
You don't need to be
Yeah.
like on the code vision.
Yeah. It's not all or nothing.
Mm, yeah,
1% better is huge.
yeah,
Already seeing that 1% is possible. Wow, for me it was big change.
yeah. Nice. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. I like what I'm hearing. It sounds like things are moving.
Yeah, I felt that way. All right, what's my homework, Vince? I'm afraid I'm going to regress.
Uh, what immediately comes to mind is your relationship to the thought that you might regress.
I'm terrified. Uh, I
Yeah,
feel like that lady who was helping me for 3 years, I told you, and got me out of the house and all these things. I feel like now that she left, it's like it was a genie and it's all going to get sucked back into the bottle. It was all
yeah,
a mirage
yeah,
and that's it. I'm back into tremendous suffering. So it's like terror. But yeah.
yeah. No, you're doing so well without her, and because of her, and everything. Yeah, it's all. There is no beginning or end to this, is there? It's like, wow, yeah, here you are. Yeah. But seriously, the I'm imagining that you're seeing the story of that you might regress as you're holding it a lot lighter than you would have a few months ago.
Agree. Agree. I mean,
Mm.
especially sitting with you guys here. I don't know when I hang up, but right now, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a good one. So you get how things change for you from the beginning of a meeting to the end of the meeting or whatever, that 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 somehow what happens here has an effect on you. Well, I want you to see that the way you are will have an effect on other people. And the way you are will have an effect on your nephew, will have an effect on your uncle, will have an effect on everybody that you come in contact with. Now, and they don't even realize. A lot of the time they'll have no idea that that effect is happening, but it will happen. It
Mm,
may not be noticeable for them, but it will be significant.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, some of those famous gurus will say things like the only way that you can change the world is to change yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
And Vince will say, and even that you can't do. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I love the flavor of it, and I think it's
yeah.
true. Yeah. So I have no idea about the people that come in contact with me, throughout my day, and I have no idea if I have any effect of them. But I love the story that maybe I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, we my wife and I went today, and we got a load of mulch for the garden, and we spoke to the bloke who loaded the mulch on with his tractor, and we bought fish and chips for tea, and we spoke to the bloke behind the counter there, and I would imagine that none of those would have any memory of me or who I spoke to or what I said or anything like that, right? But I love the idea that maybe somehow they copped a bit of my love without even
Mm.
realizing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be big and noticeable. It's just there. Yeah.
My mother, who I would not say is an awake person very much, she will say things. She'll say, it doesn't matter who you are. She goes, a grocery person can smile at you, and that's it. It brightens up your day. So if my mother
Absolutely.
can do
Yes.
that, then I think a lot of people can be affected by what you bring.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be over the top and fake and all the rest of it in order to have that effect. It can be just quiet and very, very calm and still have an effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you don't get how much, how good I feel as a result of talking to you. You probably think I'm bullshitting, but you do. I feel great when I talk to you. I love it.
Mm. Thank you, Vince.
You don't need to thank me. I wasn't complimenting you. I was just telling you that that's my reaction. There's me putting my foot into it again.
No, that's perfect. It takes pressure off of me.
Mm.
But all right. Any last thoughts about the anxiety?
Well, what immediately popped into mind is stop calling it anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
and attempt to describe it as I was going to say attempt to describe it as an experience, but what I'm really meaning is I'm not wanting you to concretize it by describing it. What I'm wanting you to do is just look at the details and see what's underneath the label of anxiety. Right? So
Okay.
anxiety is so vague that it keeps you away from what is actually going on. Whereas when you get underneath that label and look at what is actually going on, you might even describe with other labels like contraction or tightness or heaviness or whatever labels pop up. But get underneath the labels to what is actually going on, and then that whole thing will change. Right? It is what it is because of the label to a large extent.
Right. And then not go into, oh my God, there's X or Y in the body. Is this physical? Is this emotional? Do I need to solve this? Am I dying? Like
Exactly, yes. What is
actually.
actually happening, not what it might mean, not what it might be, but what you are actually experiencing. Yeah, that's a big one.
And not to worry, because if it really is serious, then I'll know better and I'll take care of it. So I won't worry that I'm bypassing some kind of medical emergency or psychological whatever.
Yeah, that's very wise of you, Tammy. You don't need me to tell you that, do you?
No, I was asking.
Yeah, that was good. I like it. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Vince, thank you so much. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space you created here. Just so much gratitude. I can't even tell you.
Oh, look, I love it too. Thank you. It's just, and I didn't create it. You guys created as much as me, for
Mm,
sure. Thank you. Mm. Hmm.
mm.
So it must be nearly 4 a.m. for you, eh, Pam? Wow.
I'm sorry, I was saying it's 5 a.m. where I am. So now
Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah. So will you have a nap during the day?
who knows what life will bring? Probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, good. Yeah. That's right. I say the same thing. Whether I will or not, I have no idea. Yeah.
It's really interesting, this thing about like not knowing what's going to happen, and you can have the best of plans, and oh, they don't go that way.
Yeah,
Something else
exactly.
comes up, and so yeah, that's the really cool experience right now, is just being here. Like,
Yeah.
where whatever
Good.
happens, there you go.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm frequently surprised. I think, oh yes, I've been up at 5 a.m. and I didn't get to bed until, so I only had 4 hours sleep last night. I'm going to be tired today, and I'm not. Sometimes I'm not. And then other times I'll sleep in until 8:30, and I went to bed at 10:30, and I had a good night's sleep, and I need a nap in the afternoon. Can't predict it. It's just
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go back and watch some television with my wife. Yeah. Thank you all. Good
Yep.
stuff.
Night. Thank you
Enjoy
very
it.
much, everyone. Yeah.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care. Night, guys.
No,
Bye,
no.
guys.